Welcome back, Marvels. Dana and I are here for another episode. Hi, Dana.
How you doing, Gwen? I feel like I want to sing Christmas time is here. If people don't understand that reference, it's the
I love
Charlie
Vince
Brown
Guaraldi.
Christmas album.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most iconic,
totally. Yeah.
Albums. It's definitely on rotation at our house. My husband collects vinyl, and we have that on vinyl. And so what's really lovely about vinyl is you really listen to something the way it was meant to be listened to beginning to end. There's no skipping around.
With the crackles and yeah.
You just it's an
just
experience
let it go.
From yeah. Whether it's a Vince Guaraldi or a Mariah Carey, it's all a hodgepodge in our house. But
nice.
But and Dana and I both celebrate Christmas, and we know that not everybody does. But something that has come up for us is the conversation about gift giving and gift receiving and the expectations that come around this time of the year.
There's all kinds of holidays that around this time of year that have gift giving in some form. So it seems to kind of fit. Yeah.
And so we're not trying to just talk about Christmas. It's just it's our own personal kind of experiences. But I find, I will say, so my clients, Christmas time, Hanukkah, and these where there's gifts that are kind of given and received, is actually a very challenging time of the year. It's kind of not all
because it's not just we were talking before we went on started taping about, especially when you're a kid, there's so much about expectations and what you wish for as a kid, and the whole Christmas Story movie where Ralph wants to get the Red Ryder gun, it's that works so well. We can all really identify with this kid who wants this thing, and his mom says no, and the dad sort of doesn't really say anything, but this idea of the quest of a child to get what they want. And we understand there's limits to that, monetary limits, and you can't always get a kid exactly what they want, and the whole spoiled thing and all that. But it really is a time that's ripe for being heard, right? So if a kid says, or you were talking before we started taping too, like the parents not even asking the child what they want or asking them for a list, how do you know what they want? I mean, how would you even know that? And so there's this sort of expectation and then this learned disappointment, right? Where you never quite get what you want or you don't get what you want. And then it's more than just a gift, though. I mean, if we talk about it from a psychological place, it's about not being seen. It's about not feeling like you're worthy enough. I had a lot of that growing up where I knew I'm not going to get everything I want. We get the Sears wish book to date myself, and we could earmark pages stuff that we wanted. Now I would earmark a ton of stuff knowing I wasn't going to get everything. Or my parents would get me something, but they'd get a cheaper knockoff of it. And that was always hard because the other kids would be like, oh, it's not the right one, which again is a parental issue. There's not endless money. I totally get it. But it's this idea of you don't see me. I am 59 years old. My dad is in his 80s. And he again sends me an email last week and says, we have a thing in our family we'd order from Swiss Colony every year that has like cheeses and crackers and sausages and stuff. And he says, oh, I'm going to send you some sausages from Swiss Colony. He knows by now that I don't eat meat. I've told him 8,000 times. Never mind the no gluten thing. That seems to never be able to stick. But I've never liked sausage my entire life, even as a kid. Like when he would make hot dogs, or I would eat a hot dog, but not like a bratwurst because they were too sausage-like. I've never liked sausage, ever. And it's sort of this feeling of just went to this place of there it is again. I'm not important enough to him for him to even care, to learn that about me. Versus my sister, who was with me in Montana 1 year at this place we go to get this awesome candy. She pointed to one kind of candy that was in there and said, I love those. You can't find them anywhere. So I sent her a bunch for Christmas. She's like, how did you know? I'm like, you told me once 7 years ago. And granted, you don't always remember that. But I just wrote back I was just like hurt and mad, and again, not being seen. And all I wrote back, I just wrote back and I said, I don't eat meat, but my wife will like it. That's all I wrote. And then he did write back and he wrote, oh yeah, that's right. You don't eat meat. Okay, so I'll send you some toffee. Will that work? And I said, well, as long as it's gluten-free. But it's just like, we've been out to dinner together where he knows I'm gluten-free, and I order from a gluten-free menu, and then he doesn't, and he's eating something and he says, do you want to try mine? And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So that's the bigger issue, I think, when you're as a kid, you're not feeling like you're being seen. Yeah. And if, your parents can't get something for whatever reason, there's ways to deal with that. So that expectations piece, and then just the sensory overwhelm for those of you that celebrate Christmas, if it's Christmas morning, if it's Christmas Eve, the pandemonium, different foods, different smells. My family, we used to open up one present at a time, and it was frustrating for me as a kid because I learned patience that way. But as we were talking before we taped again, I was like, oh, that was much lower sensory. And I'm pretty sure my mom was autistic in hindsight. Maybe she's the one that instigated that. Because I've been in families where everything gets opened at once, and it is pandemonium. And I'm like, get me out of here. So there's a lot to this gift giving and expectations and disappointment and all that.
Well, and the social expectations are really, there's a lot of them throughout the season because there's a lot of usually family gatherings, and then another thing, pictures, taking pictures around this time, taking pictures for a Christmas card or a holiday card, all of these things. And that, my clients inevitably understand, especially, most of my clients now are, late teens, adults, and they understand that their parents expect this certain behavior around the holidays, that I can't complain if I do,
they just have to suck it up. Is that?
I'm ungrateful, right? But it's, unfortunately, it's like Christmas Eve at this person's house, but then Christmas Day at this person's house. And then it's like, did it, right? It's like there's a lot of social things. So they kind of get drained. But I will say the Christmas morning situation has resulted in numerous police calls, and I'm not exaggerating here, because there's just so much dysregulation, not only on this day, but leading up to this day. And that what I've said before is do what might be effective, not what you feel is right. In your mind, it's like, okay, well, it's right for X, Y, and Z to happen in this way, but that's not necessarily going to be an effective or pleasurable holiday celebration for everybody. Right. And it's not about being ungrateful. My clients are very specific about what they like, it's
I got a lot of that. You're ungrateful.
That's the key, so during the season, it's like ungrateful it replaces lazy and unmotivated as the moral diagnoses. But, this idea that, I was trying to encourage a family that I work with, and I was trying to encourage them to have a list. Just have a list, because the not knowing what they're going to get and then being disappointed, the build up, the anticipation, the having to keep it together and then being let down. It's not the message of gratitude is gone. Yeah. My clients are grateful, especially when they're like, oh, I have room for this. I have room to be grateful for this, because it's specific, right? It's not that I want, the Star Wars DVD set. I want the Star Wars DVD set this with this thing. Yeah.
They're very specific.
Made by this with this cover. It's a very it's very difficult to land some of those things.
Yeah. My wife and I just send each other the link to the thing to make it as easy as possible. And there's some of the surprises out of it, but it works really well.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you could for some people they like the surprise and that's fine, but it's okay. It's okay to have the list, because then you can make room for the dialogue of gratitude, and it's a calm, relaxing time versus a fight. And I'm not kidding. People's screen doors have been broken, windows have been broken, police have been called. I mean, it doesn't have to go down like that on Christmas morning or whatever on whatever day it is. It's just like, maybe rethink it.
Yeah, because birthdays could be the same way, I would imagine, right? Yeah.
Oh, the singing, the birthdays, happy birthdays singing, the candle, like many of my clients don't want to be on the other side of happy.
Yeah,
They're like, I don't even know what to do. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do when everyone's singing. I don't want all that attention on me. I don't want it.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, what are the preferences? But man, holiday times are really stressful.
Yeah. So much routine disruption. We kind of talked about that last year, but focusing in on this idea of expectations. And I think as a kid, and even as an adult to a certain extent, the bar is so high when we're looking at these commercials and movies and how it's supposed to be this magic. And I don't know about you, but I've never had a holiday like that because it's not achievable, right? Yeah. Like it is on TV. I mean, I've had moments of that. The closest I've probably gotten to it was being at Disney World around Christmas time, because you're surrounded by all this stuff that's curated and it's just magical, right? But that's not real life. It doesn't really kind of work like that. And so to be mindful of somebody who has sensory issues or is going to go to that place of hurt or agitation or aggression or whatever that is more apt to at other times of the year. Why would you think it wouldn't be the same this time of year? In fact, it would be worse and amped up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's cumulative. There's a cumulative kind of effect, I feel like. So, the other thing that I see too is that many of my clients, they really enjoy the anticipation and the planning, but not necessarily the moment. So that's another thing. And then parents get hurt because there's not a huge wave of excitement.
I always wondered, like, how do I respond when I literally open this up? And I'm sure it always sounded fake, like, oh, thank you, because I just didn't. The reaction was more internal, right? I was like, yeah. I remember getting this skateboard. It was the greatest thing ever. And then getting the you're ungrateful thing. And I'm like, no, I love this thing. What are you talking about? Well, you didn't seem very excited. Oh my God. Yeah. So just expect that someone who's neurodivergent might give you a reaction that you don't expect. It doesn't mean they don't like it or they don't care. Yeah. Just like any other time of the year, they may just be dysregulated and they're not expressing or emoting in a way that you're expecting.
Yeah. And sometimes this has to do more with the parental expectation or their, because no doubt they're working hard. It's a stressful time. They're putting a lot of energy and effort into these moments for their children. Like I get that too as a parent.
Yeah,
and so just be careful about what you define as success. Be clear about it. Sometimes we're not clear about it as parents. But sometimes we get caught up. Our own expectations and feelings get caught up in the moment too, understandably, because you've probably worked really hard for that moment and put a lot of money and time and, thoughtfulness into it. So
exactly.
So it's just, how do we kind of smooth out the holiday season so it's not so it doesn't end up in a police call? I'm not kidding. Like that
would be the worst case scenario, right?
Maybe the title of this episode should be "How Christmas Doesn't End Up with the Police Coming to Your House." I don't think YouTube will allow us that many letters.
How to avoid how to avoid having the police called to your house? During the holidays.
No 911 calls on Christmas.
I
don't know. Like, I don't know.
Unless someone's choking or having a heart attack, but otherwise.
Yes, please. Oh yeah. Let's not do that. It's too literal. Thank you for lending that autistic brain of yours, Dana.
Exactly. And it goes both ways too, that if you're on the receiving end of this and you're listening to us and you are the neurodivergent person, I think it's a good skill and it's an important skill to realize that everything isn't, going to be magical, and you're going to be disappointed, and everything's aren't going to be perfect, and just expect that. It's okay. Someone's not going to get you the perfect thing, or you may get past the holiday gifts aside and just feel like, what was that? Every year I love, there's a line in When Harry Met Sally, and it's he says, oh, every year I just try to make it from right before Thanksgiving till after New Year's. And then Sally just says, yep, a lot of suicides. And just, it's a joke, right? But it's sort of true. Like that whole period has so much pressure, and it's boom, 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 holiday after another. And it really is that sense of, how the hell do I deal with all of this? And am I feeling normal? Are they feeling normal? What is going on? And it's a huge disruption to everything. And how can you feel normal when everything around you is different? It's crazy.
Yeah. And then let's remember, like, these times also bring up some triggers of trauma, in the sense that, it's losses in your life, big losses in your life. These types of times bring up the memory of not having those people in your life. I mean, like, this is not all, like I said, it's not all, chocolate and sprinkles and, what I mean, it's just, it's stressful. Right?
I love the line in Babe the Pig. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, I love Babe. Yeah.
Where there's I think it's the goose or whatever that's in that. He's worried about getting cooked for Christmas dinner, but he goes through this string of things happening, and then the last line is Christmas is carnage. And I'm like, that's the best one-liner ever. Christmas is carnage. The holidays are carnage. All these different ways that we're talking about, and you just want to survive through it and be okay, and just know that it's going to be. And if you're someone that loves someone who's neurodivergent, help them along a little bit. We appreciate it.
And make it your own.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like everything, like you said, Dana. It doesn't have to be like what you see on television or what you did when you were a kid. Like, make it your own. And, as the neurodivergent person, maybe even get a sense of like what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. We have 2 Christmas trees. One's a little one that's super easy to set up and take down. The other one's a full one, because I have EDS, and it seems like every 2 years I have to have some sort of surgery. And this year it's my thumb. And so we put up the little tree. And I even said that to my wife. I'm like, oh, I'm having surgery this year. Let's do the little tree. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay. Because it's easier to take down. And it's just, those things are great to be able to plan. And if the person's like, oh, I'm so bummed, I'm not going to have the big tree, blah, blah, blah. It's not Christmas without a big tree. Just tell them, okay, that's fine, but then you're responsible for it all.
Yep.
I won't do it. So there's ways to work that out with your family around a way that you can help for you as the adult to take care of yourself too. Yep. Take your own food to a party. Say no to some parties. Go hang out with the dog at a party. Whatever that is.
Drive yourself. Don't
drive yourself
ride in the same right. Don't stay in the same car as your family. Like, have an escape plan. Know that you can leave parties early. You don't have to stay for the full time. Find out if there's someone that you really like that's going, and
This is a terrible advice coming from a psychologist, but I find a gin and tonic really helps. I'm like,
this is the only time, Dana.
I can see when humans invented this 4,000 years ago. This makes everything a lot. Yeah, and obviously, if you have an addictions issue, don't listen to me. And I drink once a year. It's my Christmas G&T, and it helps a lot. So there you go.
By the way, that's the only time Dana diverts from her Diet Coke.
Exactly.
It's
the holidays.
Like, this is a G&T night. This is a G&T night. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. I mean, listen, we have gotten this feedback before from our audience that, sometimes, Dana and I are both very light and funny, and we find the humor in a lot of different things. So again, we don't mean to be offensive to you.
Right. That's why I said this is probably ill advice coming from a psychologist. But sometimes whatever works. Yeah. Oh, too funny.
I'm dying. Or you could just be like, ooh, there's tiramisu here. I'm gonna, that could take the edge off a little bit, depending on how those lady fingers have been soaked.
If you have issues with that, don't do it. But if you can, and it works, and it's temporary, go for it. Why not?
You know, I think part of it, what do we always talk about? This kind of self-knowledge, self-awareness. What do you need? Lean into that.
Yeah. Right.
Cope ahead. That's another word that we use in psychology. You know, you cope ahead, you prepare. That does mean, though, you need to know yourself. And that is your responsibility. That is your responsibility, not everyone else's responsibility.
Right.
But it's okay. It's okay to do that and maybe even be more mindful of it during this time, because the demands of the time are different than they are in other times of the year.
Exactly.
So with that note, I mean, I will say Dana and I'm super grateful that I get to meet with Dana on a regular basis and talk about fun things. And I know we're grateful for you as people in our community and our audience. And we wish you all the best this holiday season, no matter what you celebrate.
Absolutely. Right back at you. Yeah.
All right. Be good to you, everybody. We will see you in the next episode. Bye.